When you watch Washington prepare for war, do not listen first to speeches. Look at logistics. Rhetoric cheap, fuel and steel not cheap. What described here is not some random armada talk. It is a pattern. Carriers positioned, air defenses reinforced, tankers forward staged, and the eyes of the battlefield, AWACS, brought in. This is the kind of posture you build when you want option to strike quickly, and also when you expect retaliation and want to survive it. Two carrier strike groups in different seas is not just firepower, it is geometry. One in Arabian Sea, pressures from south and east. One in Eastern Mediterranean, pressures from west and north. And together they complicate Iranian planning because you can launch from multiple axes, saturate defenses, and keep reserves. Add destroyers for air defense and missile defense. Add submarines with tomahawks for first night strikes, and you get a toolkit for opening the door. But the more revealing piece is not the carriers, it is the tankers. Fighters and bombers are like sprinters. They run fast, but they need water. Tankers are the water. When you surge KC-135s into Greece and Bulgaria, you are building an air bridge that says, even if some Middle Eastern bases become politically unusable, or host governments suddenly get cold feet, you still have reach. This is why analysts obsess over refueling aircraft in pre-war periods. They unlock distance, tempo, and persistence. And then you put E-3 Sentry aircraft into region, flying command centers that can coordinate strikes, track launches, manage airspace, so you can run large campaign with fewer surprises. This combination does not prove a strike is coming, but it proves something very important. The United States wants credible capability on short notice, and it wants that capability without being hostage to one single basing agreement. In street terms, it is like moving not only the muscle to the neighborhood, but also bringing your own ambulance, your own radios, and your own supply truck, so you can act even if locals suddenly refuse to help. Now, does posture equal decision? Not always. Sometimes it is coercion. We are ready, so make deal. Sometimes it is deterrence. Do not hit our people, we can hit back hard. Sometimes it is domestic theater. Leaders want to look decisive and military presence is visible symbol. But there is also a darker truth. Once you assemble these pieces, you create momentum. Commanders make plans, allies brace, markets react, and both sides start reading every move as countdown. This is where miscalculation lives. Iran will look at this and assume worst case, so it will hide assets, disperse leadership, prepare missiles and drones, activate proxies. The United States, seeing Iran disperse and activate, then says, look, they preparing for attack, and the loop tightens. Here is the tough question people avoid because it sounds impolite. What is the political objective of a strike, beyond the strike itself? Punish is not objective, it is emotion. If goal is to stop nuclear progress, you need sustained campaign and intelligence certainty you almost never have. If goal is to re-establish deterrence, you must absorb or prevent retaliation, and in region full of proxies, retaliation not come as one clean event. It comes as drip-drip violence. Rockets, drones, sabotage, attacks on shipping, cyber, maybe attempts against diplomats. If goal is regime pressure, then you are in long game with no clean off-ramp, because pressure that does not collapse regime usually hardens it. So the real calculation in Washington is not can we strike, clearly yes. It is what happens on day 2 and day 20, and who pays the bill when Iran answers indirectly. My judgment, this posture is designed to make strike believable while keeping options open. And it also tries to solve the biggest constraint, basing politics, by shifting part of the air campaign support into Europe's southeast. But credibility cuts both ways. If you show all the tools and then do nothing, You teach adversary that your warnings are performance. If you strike, you must accept that you just opened the chapter where escalation management becomes the main job, not the strike planning. So what should you watch? Not the headlines, watch the boring indicators. Continued tanker flow, munitions stockpiling, evacuation advisories for non-essential personnel, and messaging to allies about force protection. When those line up, it stops being maybe. Until then, this is a pressure valve being tested. Because in geopolitics, the most dangerous moment is not when everyone wants war. It is when everyone tries to avoid war, but keeps moving pieces as if war already decided. And if weekend comes with all three elements in place, naval punch, hardened defenses, and long-range air plumbing, then next question is not will they strike, but what kind of strike fits their politics. Limited and symbolic strikes are meant to signal, but they often fail because the opponent cannot afford to look weak. Large strikes can degrade capabilities, but they also demand narrative of necessity and invite regional blowback. A third path exists. Keep the posture, force Iran to spend resources countering, and use the shadow of force to extract concessions or pause provocations. That is coercive diplomacy, and it can work, but only if the other side believes you will actually pull trigger. This is why I say the build-up is message, but message needs audience. Tehran will interpret it through its own insecurity, and Washington will interpret Tehran's response through its own politics. The danger is not that war is inevitable. The danger is that both sides start behaving like it is, and then a small incident, one drone, one misfire, one proxy attack becomes the match. If you want calm forecast, probability of some action increases when capabilities concentrate like this. But the strategic outcome depends less on the first strike and more on whether anyone has a realistic plan for what success means when the region answers back.